Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. Today, I'm going to talk about get it signed. It's such an important thing. It's something I drive home constantly to my mentees. Which, by the way, I have a $5 million mentee now. I have somebody that's actually acquired $5 million worth of real estate in the last 3 years since they began the course. So, congrats. I wouldn't say his name because I don't know. He may want to be cryptic now. I don't know. But anyways, he was a runaway success from the very beginning. So very proud and happy to have him in the mentorship. And by the way, those of you that are interested in getting some training and, just a little guidance that goes so far, you just can't believe it. I've made tens of millions of dollars in real estate. I've been doing it since I was 19. And you can do it too, And unfortunately, there's a lot of fake gurus out there that blow smoke, and they teach things that they've never done, and so therefore they're not very good teachers. A lot of people think they're getting an education when it's because they don't even know what an education is, and it's a sad thing. But you'll get a real education from me, that I promise you. So we'll be back in a minute.
And listen, time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and flip anything USA. Go.
Yeah, anyways, so one of the things, just about everything that happens reminds me of something that's happened sometime before, because I have been doing it so long. But I got a deal today, and this just like 10 minutes ago. I have a property sold. I don't like, and we can talk about this too a little bit, letters of intent. They call them LOIs, right? I don't care for LOIs. LOI is not a contract. It's a letter of intent. It means nothing. I like something that's binding. I want something that, whether it's somebody's making an offer to me or whether I'm making an offer to somebody else. I've had agents say, okay, I'll write up an LOI. I go, no, I don't want an LOI. You write up a contract. I want something that, whether I'm the buyer, if I'm the buyer, I want something that's signed so that I can either accept or I can counter it. And when I counter it, I'm not going to do a verbal counter. I want something that's ironclad. So as soon as whoever signs it, they're stuck. In other words, you're done. That's it. You've made this agreement. And that's what a letter of intent does not do. It says, hey, yeah, we agree. We're going to probably do this. That's not an agreement. That's like an agreement. That's like maybe we're going to do this. You know what I mean? I don't want a maybe. I want, this is mine. You signed it. It's mine. And that's because I'm a buyer. When I buy stuff, I'm buying it under market. I don't want some soft, whamby-pamby, contract that's a non-contract that somebody can walk, or they kind of feel obligated because they signed a letter of intent, but guess what? They're not obligated. So that's one thing I'll talk about right now. But about getting it signed, you got to remember, I emphasize this to everyone, and nobody knows this better than Liam right now. Liam, who's in the chat right now, Liam knows better than anybody. Get it signed. Get it signed. If he's in the class, if he hadn't got one of his last deals, probably second to last deal, I would guess, right, Liam? If he hadn't got that deal signed immediately in two cases, two events, he'd be $350,000 light today. It's so important to get things signed. And so I have, an agent today, and he says, well, I'll get that out in the morning. I said, let's get it out tonight. I want it out tonight. I want my buyers, I should say my buyers, I want them to respond tonight. And they had started with an LOI. And my response was, don't start with an LOI. Start with a contract. And even my agent, he still, you know what he did? He sent me something verbally. I said, you got that in writing? I don't see it in my email. He says, oh, no, well, that's what they said. I go, no, we ain't doing that. We're not doing verbal contracts. A verbal contract isn't worth the ink it's written with, right? In other words, it's worth nothing. It's not there. It's non-existent. So very important, if you're going to make a deal, get a contract. You're wasting your time otherwise. Yeah, Liam just wrote, he goes, I feel better with the $360K. I stand corrected. It's actually $360,000. So, and I could even sit here and I could talk about a couple things here. In fact, I'll give you an example, right? I'll show you a deal, and I'll show you something. So this is actually a good example of why it's so important to get things signed. I'm going to show you a deal that I really made almost $7 million on. So let me Ina Drive, let me see here. This is actually land. Technically I made $2.5 million on this piece of land, but really I made $7 million, and I'll explain why. So check this out. This is a piece of property I bought. This development you see right here, new homes here. It goes from the street all the way back here to what you see, this whole mass of roads that you see here that makes the 180 homes that is made up on this tract. Maybe it's 181. Anyways, I bought this property. I was supposed to buy this property for $150,000. Well, I ended up buying it for $210,000. And again, I was pushing, let's get it signed, let's get it signed, let's get it signed. I was actually having to get it signed by several sisters. Not all of them got along particularly well, so it was a little bit stressful. And then also the mother had to sign it, and the mother was actually was failing. She was having dementia. And so, I was pushing to get this thing signed for, every single day until I finally got it signed. And ultimately what happened was they rendered the mother as being, not competent. She couldn't sign. Now it didn't matter. She couldn't sign for herself. I never even met the lady, but there was other people involved and stuff. So all of a sudden I got, boom, put back. And this is when I bought this about 25 years ago. Things were a little bit tight. And what ended up happening was I was a little bit overextended, and so I took a partner on this thing. I let him come in and be my 1/3 partner. So instead of buying this for $150, it ended up going up to $205. So basically, I told the gentleman that wanted to be my partner, I said, send me a check for $70,000, and you can be my 1/3 partner, right? So now I went from, because I couldn't get it signed right away, I could have owned the thing 100% for $150. Now I own 2/3 of it for my $150. It's only giving me 2/3 of it. And now my partner, of course, he was happy because he ended up making about $2.5 million, in the long run. This is an investment I made actually back in 1995. But the day I bought it, it was worth more than $1 million than when I paid the $210,000. And I was going to hold this. I thought I was going to build out homes on it and show my kids how to build. But what ended up happening was I held it. And I saw my kids were less interested in building than I thought maybe they would be. And so I turned it. And I got $2.85 million for it. Again, that should have been all mine. But remember, get it signed. I didn't get it signed quick enough. So I only got 2/3 of $2.8 million. But that investment, I rotated that property into buying 2 more properties that are worth about $7.5 million today. And so those properties now, I still own them, and they bring me in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. In fact, over $500,000 a year now, just on that stuff right there alone. So again, instead of getting $500,000, now I get 66 and a 2/3 percentage of that. So I get 300 and what would that be? 600. I guess I get $330,000 now, where I would be getting $500 and some odd thousand dollars. So it matters. It's important. So Clint's in here. Paul Millsap, I've seen that name before. Sir, is Reddit a good site to do research? Listen, everywhere's a good place to get research. You just have to understand nothing's an absolute. Redfin's not an absolute. Zillow's not an absolute. Nothing is an absolute. LoopNet. I'm a big fan of. I take in a lot of information. I'll just tell you right now, I take in a lot of information, and I discard a lot of it as bullshit. And a lot of it, when I watch the news, when I watch CNBC, or if I watch Bloomberg, which I like Bloomberg. But again, I know that a lot of the people that are on that program are blowing smoke up everybody's ass for a reason, because they're trying to keep people calm. They're trying to, they're misleading the public. Or they're they're misleading. Let's just be clear. They're misleading the public so that they feel that the way that they want them to. So they're trying to they're trying to calm their borrowers, people that owe them money, their investors. They want them to feel calm so that they're constantly in a performance. When they're on Bloomberg, it's like a performance. And the goal is make everybody feel calm, even maybe while things are going to hell. Or hey, don't sell. We don't want things to fall apart. So let's read some of these comments here. Hey, thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. Saying great content and channel. I appreciate that. Johnny G. Hi, Tom. I noticed you buy and lease commercial properties, but don't do that on all that many residential properties. It seems you like to flip residential, not rent. That's a great observation. You're absolutely right. That's 100% true. Now, I've held some retail properties. Some residential properties. It's like, you know what? This would be great. The kids can live in the neighborhood. And I bought some, near my home. And I held some of those, for a longer time than maybe I would have originally. And they turned out to be fine investments too. In fact, what's interesting is sometimes you can hold some properties. It's like you can get rich slowly or you can get rich quickly. Flipping is a way to get rich quickly, more fast. You can buy properties and hold them over a long period of term, and they'll still be worth a lot of money, down the road. But you'll find, in other words, if I researched this a little bit just on my own portfolio. Let's say I bought a house for, I held houses that I paid $129,000 on average for, and those ended up being worth $500,000 to $600,000, right? $650,000, some of them, and so I quadrupled what I paid for them, but it took maybe 10, 12 years. Now, in the meantime, the day that I bought them, they might have been worth $220 when I paid $129, and so I make $100, but if I did that 3 times in a year, I made $300,000 just in that year. And then the following year, I would have done the same. So that's why I say you make money much quicker by flipping, because you have more money to, redouble or re-triple or re-quadruple. So I'm a big believer in flipping. But of course, for some of you, if you're a doctor or somebody that, you have a business that keeps you very busy and you don't have the freedom to invest as much, then making a good investment is very important, but one that you can sit on. It makes sense because maybe you make a lot of money, doing what you do, and you don't want to jeopardize your job, but you certainly want to invest in real estate. So, but yeah, I do. I flip. Residential real estate is wonderful because the sky's the limit on the value. It's an emotional purchase. People will pay more than market for it because they want to live in that neighborhood. They want to be near their kids, or they want to be near their parents. There's all kinds of reasons to go in. They want a certain school. They want their kids to keep their friends in that area. Where commercial, like the stuff you see behind me, it's more like, where's it at in relation to all the employees around that building? Where's it at in relation to the freeway and the trucks that are going to come and deliver goods? So yeah, it's more emotional, but it's, there's residential real estate. Fortunately, unfortunately, I've had residential properties that were worth less than commercial properties, right? In general, that's usually true per foot. But when you get an area that's kind of a little bit of an affluent area, the residential properties will be worth far more per foot than even the commercial properties. It'll be worth $600-700 a foot in the commercial properties in the same area. Office, industrial, commercial, strip centers, retail stuff. They might be worth $200 to $300 a foot, but the houses are worth $500 a foot, because I've done that. I bought up houses that I intended to turn into offices, and then what happened was the area became so much more affluent that the residential properties were worth more to keep them residential, and it wasn't worth even trying to bother rezoning them for office. So anyways, let's see. So yeah, John, that is, you observed correctly, and that is why. I hope that explains it. Let me know if that answers your question. If not, I'll try to do better, but I think that explains it pretty well. Cudham wrote, good evening. Yep, thanks, buddy. Jim Bizios, hi, Tom. Can you explain in detail what the mentorship includes? Well, I can. Glad you asked, and then I'll jump to you, Paul. So real quick, for you that are watching, I have a mentorship. It's called FlipAnythingUSA. Started this a little over 3 years ago, and tremendous success. I don't know anybody that even comes close to my rate of success with students. Jerry here just made $2 million. He'd done several six-figure flips while in my mentorship, and he finally hit a grand slam deal, and he made $2 million. That's his building, that beautiful retail center in this 5,000 square foot fireworks building. That's his. Josh here, same thing. He's damn near a millionaire on land now. I've done land. The reason I'm such a relevant mentor for you guys watching is that I buy the kind of properties, the same kind of properties I buy today are the same kind of properties I was buying 40 years ago. The stuff that we all drive by every day: commercial, industrial, office, land, residential. And much of the stuff that I bought that made me rich, you could afford, that's how I started. And guys like you see right here, right here, I'll click him on for a second. This guy's a great guy, Shane. He did 2 deals within 7 months, making $113,000, and then he did a third deal just right after that, and he's going to make $100 on that. So this guy's in less than a year is going to make almost $250,000.
Yes, I'm close on it now.
And he can't even believe it. He'll tell you. He said, "I can't even believe, Tom, you're interviewing me about all the money I made." And Chris, same thing. You'll see Chris in here. Go to FlipAnythingUSA.com. And number one, and listen, the way to learn about the mentorship, Paul, to be quite honest, is go here to webinar. Right here, right above my head. Go to webinar, and I got that goofy picture there. But anyways, just fill your name out here, email, phone number, and your age, and you'll be in. Okay. The other thing is, if you're really serious, get the book. It goes a long way with me. When you buy the book, believe me, I discount the mentorship for people that I think will be successful. In fact, I don't even let anybody in the class that I don't think will be successful. But when you show me that you already own my book, when you fill out the mentorship survey, and that's important, fill out the mentorship survey right here. Just fill this out. It's not very much information. It's very, very few questions. But when you click on that, have you read my book? Yeah, I've got it, or that you bought it, or at least it's on the way. That goes a long way, because at least I know you're very sincere in what you want to do. I don't have time for people that are insincere or unrealistic, Listen, making money in real estate is relatively easy, but it requires following certain fundamentals and disciplines. And as long as you do those things, you'll succeed. Now, some of you might make millions in the same time that others make 100,000, but either way, it's going the right way. So, so really, fill out the mentorship survey, Paul, anybody else, and fill out the webinar you see right here, and definitely get the book. You'd be crazy not to get the book. If you just look at what people say about my book, you'll buy it as soon as you read, the first 100 testimonials. It is a great book. It really is. And it's because it's real. It's from me. It's how and what you learn in the webinar, by the way, when you get in the webinar, basically what I show you is how I made my first million in the 80s. When I was in my 20s, I made my first million. That's like making $3 million today. It's a good thing. So anyways, let's get back to a couple questions. Paul wrote, so are your eyes stuck on the screen when you trade the different American property developers? I can't recall, but it applies to different. No, I mean, listen, I'm a field guy. I like to go out there and look at it, touch it, and see it, smell it, literally. Glad to see your channel is still growing. Just like you said, always got to do the research. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to know value, folks. Very important. Paul, you're definitely an astute student of YouTube, if nothing else here. Have you heard of flipping houses for rookies? I think it is similar category. Maybe. No, I have not, to be honest. Tyson wrote, hey, Tom, when getting a loan to purchase commercial property, how can you become a more attractive buyer to the seller and the broker? How much earnest money, inspection period, etc.? Listen, nothing makes you more attractive than being able to pay cash. And also, very important that whenever you buy something, whether you have the cash or not, you need to convince the people that you're buying that you do have the cash. And the way you do that is sincerity. You know, you put up some real money. You be very proactive and very quick. Put a deposit down. You can make part of it non-refundable. You know, you show sincerity. Like, this is going to close. I'm so confident it's going to close. I'm going to give you $500 or $5,000 non-refundable. You know, depending on how big the project is. And the same thing, when I sell a property, I test sincerity the same way. Man, Boogar, you got to change that name. It's just not even one that I want to repeat But Boogar, I'll say this: Boogar wrote, "What types of commercial properties are going to get hard?" Meaning a crash versus those that will. Well, I'll tell you what. It's a good question. He said, what type of commercial properties are going to get hit hard? Listen, Ben Mala just put a pile of his properties up for sale. 1031 sale or something like that, .com. Listen, he's selling because he's in trouble. He should have refied, at least 8 months to a year and a half ago. I was telling everybody 2 years ago, listen, either get rid of it now or refinance it now. And all my mentees are safe. Ben Mala should have, I don't really mean a kid, Ben Mala should have taken my class because he wouldn't have made the mistake he made by not refinancing his portfolio. Because his portfolio, the $150 million of debt that he described, or that I surmised that he had, it basically got pushed up about 4.25 points. Percentage is what he's paying on that $150 million that he wasn't paying 2 years ago. So that equates to about $6.5 million a year in interest. And so, that could be all of the cash flow, all of it. And so, so these assets that he's now putting up for sale are ones that I believe he would have otherwise kept, because some of them are ones that he bought not long ago. So it's painful, because when you get in that position, everything you sell, when you 1031, and he's done a lot of that, same just like me. So you have properties that you own that have a zero basis, meaning you're going to get killed on taxes. You're going to pay the absolute max you have to pay, and whether they're long term or short term, you're going to pay the max, and it's super painful if you can't. In other words, you have to buy bigger than what you sold to get to take advantage of a 1031. And so he's in a position that he can't take advantage of it. All he can do is take the cash and take his lumps on the profits. So it's painful, but you know what? Hey, he's got enough. I'm sure he'll be okay, but he may no longer be the $500 million man. He may be substantially smaller. I don't know. But, it's just nobody escapes it. So to your question is, Tyson, no property is safe if you don't have it, unless you have long-term, low-interest financing in place. At some point, if you owe on it and it gets called for, to be marked to market rates, and, then you're going to get killed on interest. I got a couple loans that are going to come due in 2026. But everything, I got everything refinanced early. So I've got a couple things that'll come due in 2026. And, I'll either pay those off or I'll refinance as little of it as I have to and pay the higher rates. Because I believe the interest rates are going to be just as high in 3 years from right now. They're going to be just as high as they are today. And, listen, Jay Powell coming out saying that, hey, we're probably going to lower the rates. I think that's a political favor to the White House. I don't think it's sincere. I think it's just to try to take the heat off the White House. Like I say, when I talked about point of references earlier, people lie all the time to make people feel better. Hey, listen, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Something I don't ask for enough is likes and subscribes. But please hit that subscribe button and comment under the video, not just the chat, but in the video. It helps the channel if you want to help the channel. I've got a lot of new students, and the word's getting out, and I've got a lot of success, and it really is a great way for me to go out. I'm retiring from certain aspects of the real estate stuff, not from investing, but I'm enjoying a lot. Just kind of being the overseer and the guidance guy, the mentor for the people in my class, and seeing young men and women, and I'm talking about 40, 50 years old. That's young to me. You're still younger than me. Seeing these people make it is a wonderful thing. Let's see. So, Bugar, let me know that I answered your question, please. Richard Oviato, do you deposit the money without the title search? Yes. If what happens if the title is not clear, do they keep? No. I mean, listen, I saw one of the worst contracts I've ever seen. I mean, I would have never signed it. And it was actually one of my students brought it to me before he was a student. And I told him, yeah, you made a huge mistake. But he basically had a contract that he wasn't getting his money back, whether it closed or not. He wasn't getting his money back, whether it was his fault or not. You can write a contract, and, that's the beauty and the bad part of real estate is, the best part about real estate is two people agree to sell something. The terms can be just as wild and crazy as you can imagine. We call that creative financing, right? And I've done a ton of creative finance. I don't know anybody that's done more. But you can actually write a contract that absolutely screws the other person. And if they're not smart, if they're dumb enough, they can sign that contract and be bound by it. Nobody's safe. So that's the thing. But the bottom line is, when you're going to buy a property, whatever purchase, you should always have a title policy. Always get title work. Always get a title insurance policy. Whether you're buying or selling, always make sure there's a title policy. It's a litigious world out there. You don't want to get caught in a mess. But the main thing is listen, the very first property that I bought when I was 19 years old, and I'll show it to you real quick. It actually, it was a wrap. It was an all-inclusive trust deed, and a lot of you guys would consider that a Sub2 deal, actually, because the guy I was paying 4 other notes underneath. That's the building right there. And I bought that when I was 19. It's a 5,900 square foot building. And again, it was a Sub2, which I don't recommend Sub2. And this is one that actually ended up getting a little bit litigious. When I refied the building 5 years later, they overpaid one of the people $17,000, and one of the people that was within that all-inclusive trust deed didn't get paid at all. So that ended up being a little bit of a mess. But this Sub2 stuff, that stuff is wildly exaggerated as being a good and feasible way to make money. I would bet money that less than 1% of the people that are the biggest advocates of the Sub2, less than 1% of their students have made $1 doing Sub2, okay? And I'd be happy to challenge anybody on that. Pace Morby, anybody of these that are big advocates of Sub2. I don't think hardly any of his students are making any Sub2 deals at all. In fact, I'll be doing a video on Pace here again pretty soon. He's got about the worst testimonials of anybody I've ever seen. They're not even about people making money. They're like testimonials about people making friends. It's a bit of a joke to me, to be quite honest. And I it's hard to be terribly respectful on that, but I mean, I respectfully, to Pace, your testimonials are terrible. They're not about profit. I've seen one guy made $30,000. You sell $40 million worth of mentorships, and all anybody's talking about is they made their friends there. It's pretty sad. But to your credit, you made a lot out of next to nothing. So congrats on that. Again, those of you just got here, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We can talk about anything. Anybody want to jump around the globe, go somewhere, look at something else? And also in this is where I made my first million, in this neighborhood right here. And I remember, I remember getting back to the point of this deal is in this little house right here. I bought this for $40,000, sold it for $56,000. I actually had to have a partner on it because I was tight on money, and so we made $15,000, $16,000. He ended up buying me out, and I let him take the property, and he gave me $7,500. But again, this was another one. As soon as the property came on the market, bam, get it signed. I have another one over here, very similar. It was I made into this is a duplex property. I made this into like an illegal duplex. It looks like they added a fireplace on this thing. That was not there. That looks like a fireplace, doesn't it? Huh. Let's take a look at the ground. I don't know what that is. That's weird. Yeah, look at that fireplace. I don't remember that being there, to be honest. Anyways, I poured this concrete you see right here, and I took a laundry room in the back of that place, and I made it into a little rental. Like we used to call it a mother-in-law's quarters. Like, if you're going to let your mother-in-law live in, you let her live in the laundry room in the back. And that's basically what we did. We made that into a mother-in-law's quarters. So look, those of you here just got here, I got a mentorship. Be sure to go to FlipAnythingUSA and, get into my webinar. Look at Ryan Pineda's got a thing called WealthCon coming. We should take a quick look at this. Anybody know about this? WealthCon? Yeah. So, look at this picture here. Ryan, who has very little experience in real estate, and what he does, he's had some big failures. He's just talking about having to throw $1 million into the fund that he put together so that investors wouldn't lose money. He talked about, having way too many flips and that he lost money on, that took, the carrying cost was too great. Talked about, I think he lost $2 million on that and $1 million on this, throwing $1 million into this other thing. And then, you got Chris Crone over here, which to me is a horrible investor. He's not really an investor. He's more of an other people's money guy. He looks for other people's money. Listen, I've talked to so many people that said, once Chris Crone gets your email or your text, he ain't never going to leave you alone. He wants you to borrow money and invest with him. So I don't know. Anyways, but and I don't know Thatch is the only one. I don't know these other people, but Thatch here, he may be legit. I've heard him talk a little bit. Definitely a different style than me. I hear him talking about holding properties. I'm more of a reality-based guy. If a property, I don't need to hold it just because values are going down. I'm going to dump it. I'm going to sell it anyways. I'm going to take my lumps. I'm going to take my money. And because if the market's going to start getting rough, it doesn't matter. I mean, when you're selling, just look at it this way, your own home. If you have a home, just say one you live in, you can sell it. If things are going down in value, and let's just say you're a full retail buyer, doesn't matter. You sell your property for full retail, and now it's less than last year. But guess what? Whatever you buy is also going to be less than last year. So in other words, the whole market drops, so it doesn't really matter. Let's see. So anybody got a comment on this? Let me know your thoughts. Ryan Pineda, he was getting into this fund thing. I was vocal about it's a terrible idea. He was terribly miscalculating the deal he was looking at. And he was in the room with some other guy that owned the apartment building. I said, you know what? There's always a sucker in the room. In that situation, Ryan Pineda was the sucker in the room. And he just did a video maybe a month ago, basically describing himself as making a big mistake. But he's young. He'll recover from it. So Paul wrote, so what makes legitimate for a bank to allow that to happen? Seems like you're talking about my deal. No, the title company was on the stake for it. The title company, the bank did what they did. The bank funded the loan. And then but the title company is the one that's supposed to pay it to each of the people that are owed money within that all-inclusive trust deed. They overpaid one, didn't pay another. In fact, somebody had said, "Hey, Tom, I see you're in foreclosure." I go, "What? What are you talking about?" And then he was right. In the paper said I was in foreclosure. This is like 35 years ago. And so I got a hold of Chicago Title and said, "Listen, you gotta pay this guy off," or So I wrote a letter to my lawyer and Chicago Title, and that night I hand delivered it to them, and then they got back with me right away, and they paid a notary to go out and hand that guy $17,000 and get him to sign off on my property, and that was done. The title company did what they were supposed to do. Jake wrote, "I'm a reality-based guy." Yeah. Oh, I didn't see that. Did somebody write that? What's that? Oh, I did? Oh, yeah. Well, I am reality. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah. I don't believe in throwing good money after bad. And if I have a property, even if I got caught upside down, look, a lot of people start calling and said I'm a hodler, I'm hodling. And that usually means I screwed up, I held too long, and now I'm going to hold even longer. I mean, not everybody can afford to, accept those losses. A lot of people just won't do it. Maybe there's even reasons because they borrowed money. They want to, make things look a little better than they are, but they will, they don't want to face reality. And I face reality. If that's why I say in chapter, I think it's 24, 27 of my book, which if you don't have my book, be sure to get my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. I talk about, leapfrogging. And that means sell the property for what it's worth 3 months from now. Meaning, if it's going down in value, sell it for 3 months in the future. In other words, sell it for less than what you have to sell it for today. Because otherwise, you're just taking turns with everybody lowering your price. But if you jump ahead 3 months and get substantially below everyone, by the time you'll get your property sold, and when it's closing, values are going to be down to that number anyways. So it was something that Thatch had said about, I'm not going to sell now because I'd lose too much money. See, I don't agree with that. I say you just get rid of it, and face the music. If it's worth, it doesn't matter if it's worth less. You're going to be able to do something with it later on. So, anyways, not to beat up on Ryan Pineda. He seems like a nice kid. But what are you going to learn from him about real estate? He basically talks about his failures. There's really, what? It's okay to have some failures in your past, but you better have some big winners to reflect on too. Hello from Houston. We got Easy 2156. Glad you're here. Anybody got anything you want to talk about, look at? Let me know. We can jump. I'll take any questions you have. The interest rates, I think, will stay steady for the next 3 years. I don't think they'll go down, or even if they go down a little bit. I mean, you got to understand, when somebody raises the prices 100%, and then they have a 10% off sale, it doesn't mean shit. And that's kind of like Jay Powell talking about, going to start lowering the interest rates. I don't even believe it, but I think that's like a favor, so that the president can say, "Oh yeah, look, as it looks like, the interest rates are coming down, under my fantastic plan." Jake just wrote. He said, "I used your leapfrogging tactic recently, flipping a car. Everybody told me I sold it too cheap, but I took my profit and bought the next deal. Definitely applicable." Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jake, good for you, man. Proud of you, buddy. So he basically said he took a chapter from my book, Leapfrog, and he applied that to getting rid of a car. And it's true. Car values are dropping too. So it makes sense. Good job. And, listen, one of my best mentors, and he didn't mentor me, like put his arm around me and guide me like I kind of guide a lot of people, but basically he was a great inspiration. He was a good role model. Hank Booker. This guy owned millions of dollars of real estate, back in the 80s. And he actually carried a lot of notes. He had a lot of second trust deeds on houses that he owned, that he sold in Los Angeles. Earthquake came, and there was no earthquake insurance. And so many of these fireplaces, they snap, and then they fall into the house, fall through the roof, destroy the trusses. They total the house basically in a big way. And when there's no insurance, there's no insurance. And so he was carrying a lot of seconds on, I don't even know, there might have been 50 houses like that. And it was devastating because he was carrying seconds, and they weren't worth what was owed on the first. So he had to walk away, and he lost a lot of money. So you see a lot of different things. You've been doing this stuff for as long as I have, and that's one of the things I've seen happen as well. And seen some earthquakes in California when I lived in California. In fact, one of the jobs I had was that the trains had come off the track in Santa Barbara. This is like 30 some odd, 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, right? 45 years ago. God, where was that? Some of you might remember that, but it was in just outside of Santa Barbara. The trains came on the track, but there's a lot of trailer parks out there, a lot of high-end trailer parks near the sea out there in Santa Barbara, and I can't remember. It's just on the tip of my tongue. Montecito and some other areas. And anyways, those trailers, they're all sitting on jacks, right? Like my fingers, on the frame, going up and down along the frame. And when that ripple came, if you've ever been through an earthquake, and I've actually, I was underneath my Porsche when I was in my 20s. I had a Porsche, and I was underneath it, and I could feel the ground rolling, and the car was, getting rocking. I thought a buddy of mine was messing with me, pushing on the car, but you kind of feel them roll. Well, that rolling ripple, it just popped these jacks right out from under these trailers in that particular area that the epicenter was near Santa Barbara. And so all these trailers slipped off the jacks, fell down, and you'd go into a trailer, and you'd see all these jacks sticking through the floor because the whole structure had dropped, 2.5 feet, and now these, posts that were holding it up were sticking through the floor about, a foot. Let's see. Oh, what's the name of my book? What? Perez? Come on. I've seen you in here before. Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. That's my book. Be sure to get that. Anybody interested in real estate, you definitely want to get my book. It'll be the best $10, $20 you ever spent. I promise you that. Take a look at the reviews on it. In fact, I'll even show you the reviews on it. Might as well. Let's see if I'll get back here. So if you go to my site, you'll see, go to book right there above my head. Click on that. That'll take you to Amazon. Go to the reviews. Actually, mostly 5-star reviews. The people that didn't give it 5-star just don't understand real estate. But you'll see here, Millennial Mike's actually in here. But basically, you'll see just 5 stars, primarily throughout this whole thing. And there's good reason. It's all real. It's all real. And so get the book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate, and you'll be glad you did. All right. Anyways, what else can we talk about here? Look, be sure to get in a webinar and be sure to fill this stuff out. And, you do that, and hopefully you'll be like one of my mentees here. I'll be interviewing you, talking about the hundreds of thousands or maybe even the millions that you made. Look, $1 million doesn't go that far anymore, but it's still the right direction, and all these people you see, these are, and many, many more, by the way, too. And a lot of these guys have made, from the time I interviewed them, they've made that much again since. So what are your fears out there? 85%, I think it was just in the news recently, 85% of America can't afford to buy a home, can't afford to buy a median valued home. So only 15% of the country can afford to buy a home right now. And one of the things that really disturbed me that I thought was really sad was I was listening to this woman talk about, not caring about paying her bills and not caring about her credit rating, not caring about any of that stuff. And the reason she didn't care is she said, I'm never going to be able to afford a home anyways. And, and so she thought, what do I care about my credit? Why do I care? And so, if people kind of get that, defeatist attitude, like, oh, what the hell, then, It's, I see opportunity for people that do care, that do want to hustle, myself included. But how sad. It's not a good thing. But for you guys and gals, and when I say guys, I just mean guys and gals, okay? Lazy people that don't think about the future, that is nothing new. That's been going on, since I was a kid. Believe me, I'd look at people that just couldn't do basic math. They'd owe $1,000 on a credit card at 20% back then, and they'd have $1,000 in the bank, and they go, well, I'm not touching my savings. I go, well, if you touch your savings and pay off your credit card, you make 20% on your money. But people don't get that. And, and one of the saddest realities is people, just basic math, they lack basic math skills. And what I'm saying is when I see somebody wipe out all the equity in their home, and by the way, just so you see all those blue clusters, everything you see here, and some of these ones here, every one of those dots represents 5 properties that I bought. But so if you can just imagine a lot more circles than that. Basically, I've been buying property for a very long time, and I show you very specifically, the stuff that I do buy and what I have bought. All these dots you see here, all these blue dots, every one of those is a property that I personally negotiated and made all the money on. And we're talking about everything from apartment buildings to retail centers to houses to land. Like these are apartment buildings. I made a couple $1 million on these 3 apartment buildings, and everybody here watching this could have bought these things. I paid $130,000 for one, $400,000 for another, paid $210 for another one. And, this stuff is accessible. You just got to want it. If you don't want it, it ain't never going to happen. But I made a couple million just on those 2 buildings. And then actually not far from there. Oh, yeah, here's another one. I made $1.5 million on this building right here. Take a look at that. And don't think I'm just all about commercial. I love commercial. I love industrial. I love residential. Love warehouse. But you know what? I've made millions of dollars on land and houses and residences. That's what started me. But I am partial to, commercial buildings. It's those, I like strip centers. I like schools. I have jiu-jitsu schools. I have all karate schools. I like a lot of the business. I like the business rentals that Amazon can't destroy. And they've destroyed many, many businesses in this country. And a lot of industrial companies have gotten wiped out by China. We basically kiss China's ass, and they tariff the shit out of our stuff going into their country, and we don't do it coming back. We did for a while, but that's been changed again recently, and so we're at a disadvantage in a lot of ways. But real estate, let me tell you something. Real estate, everybody's equal, whether you have money or not. It doesn't matter. Because here's the beauty, and this is for you guys that, have less than, $100,000 or whatever. As long as you can get between what somebody has and what somebody wants, and you're in between, you'll get the money, because that's where you want to be. You just got to get in between what somebody has and what somebody wants. Just never forget that, because it's very, very important, and you'll make a fortune if you can, hang on to that. And if you can afford to get the skills, certainly get the book, and I'll quit pushing the book. But hey, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So look, I guess I'm going to call it quits, guys. Anyways, but please comment often, and listen, get in a webinar. Look, I'm not going to do this stuff forever. There's this window. You got this window where you can actually be taught by me, and that's no small thing. Like I say, take a look at FlipAnythingUSA, see all the millionaires in my class. I got the best and brightest students, and you can be a part of that group. You just, you have to try. You have to try. If you don't try, it's never going to happen. Don't buy the ticket. You can't win the lottery unless you buy the ticket, right? So, anyways, again, keep pushing the book. I'll do it. Yeah. And, please comment under the videos if you don't mind. When you see my videos, if you comment under there, or all that stuff helps the algorithm. I would appreciate that. I really want to just dedicate myself more to supporting my mentees, you know. And like I said, there's a lot of guys out there that they couldn't mentor if they want. They say they have mentorships, but they don't have experience. And I'll tell you, being mentored by somebody that doesn't have experience, that's the worst thing in the world could happen to you, because they'll lead you off a cliff. And you guys have seen plenty of YouTubers lead people off a cliff already. So anyways, thanks, everyone. And we'll do it again real soon. And we'll see you later.
And listen, time is on a mission to eliminate all the snake oil and the fake gurus that fake y'all. He'll show you how to build an empire, starting with nothing but a desire. All you really need is a good mentor, not a used car bullshit. With time, you'll learn to crush it. Investing like Warren Buffett. With real estate, you cannot procrastinate. Everyone who hesitates is left at the starting gate. Hey, yo, so don't delay and join today. The mentorship and flip anything USA. Go.